I invite Mr. Pedro dos Santos Frazão, Member of Parliament of Portuguese Republic.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Minister, members of the Knesset, distinguished colleagues, and ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to address you today at this respectful house as the Vice President of the second largest political party, Portuguese political party, CHEGA party, the only political force in Portugal whose official program clearly and explicitly defends the transference of the Portuguese embassy to Jerusalem and affirms without hesitation the legitimacy, security, and permanence of the State of Israel. I also serve as the chairman of the Portuguese Parliamentary Caucus of the Israel Allies Foundation, which demonstrates my commitment not only in words but in action. History, ladies and gentlemen, is shaped by a permanent struggle between good and evil. And when politics loses the courage to distinguish between these two, it ceases to serve the people. That conviction is why I support Israel, and I always will. I'm driven by a simple but uncomfortable truth. Civilization survives only when it's defended. When political leaders refuse to name evil, they allow it to grow. When they refuse to confront it, they empower it. Today, I want to speak plainly about anti-Semitism in Portugal because it is growing openly, aggressively, and with institutional tolerance. There are no official stats, ladies and gentlemen, not because anti-Semitism doesn't exist, but because Portuguese legal system still refuses to name it properly. Anti-Semitism isn't legally categorized as a specific hate crime. As a result, police forces and courts lack the tool to identify it, to record it, and to prosecute it. What is not named becomes invisible. What is invisible becomes tolerated. Portugal does formally have a national strategy to combat anti-Semitism and promote the Jewish life, aligned also with the European strategy and based on the IRA definition. But let us be honest. A strategy on paper does not protect a single Jewish citizen, and it does not stop a single act of hatred. It does not deter a single aggressive. Despite this strategy, anti-Semitism has become more visible, more aggressive, and more normalized. For an example, a Jewish Portuguese journalist named Esther Musnik was publicly humiliated at a polling station during an election, a national election. She was targeted with anti-Semitic remarks simply because she was a Jewish. This is awful, and it's a stain in our democracy. In Portuguese cities, graffitis glorifying terrorific violence and attacking the Jews and Israel Defense Forces appear repeatedly. And I brought some examples for you. This one is from Lisbon, death to the IDF. This one is also from a city in Portugal, the Star of David with the word blood. This is written in Portuguese. It says, death to the Nazi Zionism. Also this one is in the street of our Portuguese parliament, and it says, Israeli killers are not welcome. And this one is completely appalling. It equals the Star of David with the Nazi cross. So these examples, sirs, must be combated. This month, in January, a sustained campaign of intimidation against a Jewish-owned restaurant in Lisbon of Israeli food culminated in its closure after 10 years of activity. At the same time, slogans, and this was in the news, you can search it on, the restaurant was called Tentura. At the same time, slogans such as "From the river to the sea" have been completely normalized in public demonstrations and political discourse. This slogan represents a refusal to grant Israel what is granted to every other nation, the right to exist. The problem, therefore, is historical ignorance and moral cowardice. For this reason, my party has submitted multiple initiatives condemning the resurgence of anti-Semitism and, crucially, a formal resolution resolution urging the Portuguese government to adopt the IRA definition into the domestic law and to fully implement the European strategy. Our party bill is currently awaiting debate in the Portuguese Parliament, but adopting the IRA definition, not only in Portugal but worldwide, is the line between rhetoric and action, between moral posturing and real protection. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Minister, those who target Israel are not fighting a policy. They are fighting the civilization. They are fighting freedom. They are fighting pluralism. They are fighting the moral foundations of the West. And because of that, inaction in the face of anti-Semitism is surrender. Portugal, Europe, and every democracy must now choose where they stand. On my watch, there will be no ambiguity, no hesitation, and no moral fog. I stand with Israel. I stand against anti-Semitism. I stand against cowardice disguised as diplomacy. I call also on every responsible leader in Europe and in the world to do the same. My beloved Portugal, all European nations, and all democracies in the world must choose where they stand. May God grant us all the wisdom to discern truth from falsehood, the strength to defend what is right, and the courage to uphold freedom, even when it demands sacrifice. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Frazão.